All right, we open up as we often do here, going across this pond to London, England, via Skype, and joining us is Dr. Jonathan S. Lee. He is the author of Lean Gains. It's published by Author House UK, and you can get it at authorhouse.com, barnesandnoble.com, amazon.com, and I want to give out the doctor's website, which is leangains.co.uk. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you on, Dr. Lee.
Hello, Stu. How are you?
Listen, I'm doing well, and I try to follow what you say here, but I want to find out about the book you wrote. I want people to know and what differentiates it. It seems like unless someone has a specific condition that has to be treated differently, that so much of this is common sense: exercise, diet, not too much sun, don't drink, don't smoke. What have you got in here to talk about that's a little bit different and would clarify this?
That's a great question, Stu. I'm really glad you asked me that. Because whilst researching for this book, I did look at a lot of the popular diets out there. The Warrior Diet, Atkins, Weight Watchers, Paleo Diet, Slimming World. Oh, goodness. Cambridge Diet, a few others. I can't remember all of them. But the point is that all these diets work. There is some common sense to it. I agree with you there. But there's also a saying out there that everything works until it doesn't work. And that saying is definitely true in the diet world. So I find that what tends to happen to a lot of people, not everybody, I've got to really make that clear that we're all different, but certainly the vast majority of people I've come across, is that they'll go on a new diet, they'll start to lose loads of weight, at least in the beginning anyway. And because they're losing all this weight, they start to feel real good about themselves. They got more energy, their mood improves, they tend to move around a lot better. And this usually gives them, an incentive to continue doing what they're doing. But what usually happens over the next couple of months or the next couple of weeks for that matter is that the weight loss, it becomes less rapid, it becomes less obvious than it was in the beginning. And this is where things really get interesting because you'll find that one or two things are going to happen. Either number one, you're going to keep persisting with the diet and continue to lose weight, which is great. But you have to remember that the human body is very adaptive. So, yeah, sure, you'll continue to lose the weight, but this tends to be at a much slower rate than it did in the beginning. And your body will start to get used to this new way of eating. But the other thing that can happen during the latter phase is, again, this isn't the case with everybody, but certainly a lot of the people out there, is that they may start to feel weak, they may start to feel tired. If you're a regular gym goer like I am, it might be harder to undergo certain types of strength training, like lifting weights, things like that. They start to develop more hunger pangs, they start to crave the forbidden foods. The foods that were easy to avoid in the beginning, they become harder to avoid as time goes on.
Go ahead. No, continue.
I was going to say, so really the thing that differentiates my book is that I really go into a lot of detail about why this is the case. And really it focuses on how to break through weight loss plateaus without, resorting to starvation or getting depressed or feeling devoid of energy in any way. And that's really where the focus is.
You make two tremendously salient points. We're constantly changing. It's almost like if you go to the doctor and you're on medication, bingo, something happens, you have to change the modification. And these are your statements. I think they're very enlightening. I'll ask you to comment on both of them. You say, keep your body guessing, progressing, and changing. I love that one. And then something I think that's tied in with it is the influence of biochemistry to mimic the physiological responses to hormonal and neurological changes. I think those are points that are really worth mentioning because most books just don't cover that. Am I on base on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you mentioned that because that was actually one of the biggest challenges that I faced when I was writing the book because it was very difficult. I did look into a ton of medical journals, research papers, because I really wanted to get everything in the book. But at the same time, I didn't want the book to go on for too long. So, I did look at a lot of medical journals, people like Lyle McDonald. I don't know if you know who he is, or you may have heard of The Warrior Diet by Ori Hofmeckler. And people like that, I really did follow them. And what I found really inspiring was that there were so many similarities to what a lot of them said, but so many differences too. So I try to amalgamate all the really important points into a really easy to digest read. I didn't want to overwhelm people with too much science or make the book too long, and that was really important to me.
So give us a summary here. Obviously, one size doesn't fit all. There are people who have sugar and salt deficiencies, so you can't really cover everybody. But you talk about fasting, exercise, diet. Maybe a comment on each of those that'll provide some new information.
Absolutely. I mean, well, a lot of the focus that, historically, there was a lot of focus on calorie reduction and carb reduction. And there's a lot of truth to that. But as time goes on, as more science has come out to the light, we focus more a lot on hormonal references now as well, like testosterone, for example, estrogen and things like that. And these things we have to pay a lot of attention to. So I do talk a lot about that. I talk a lot about integrating that with workout regimes which will complement other fat-burning hormones such as growth hormones. So I try to amalgamate that all in context. And the whole idea of keeping the body guessing, again, that's really important because I try to essentially manipulate hormonal levels in the body so that we can maximize fat loss and muscle growth, which is what most people are aspiring towards. And at the same time, changing up your workout routine regularly as well. So you keep the body guessing. So long term, you can get the results that you're looking for, not just short term weight loss.
I mean, I think that's a tremendous point that stands out with me. What kind of challenges did you face while writing the book, and perhaps what surprised you that you didn't anticipate prior to having written it?
Well, I would say the biggest challenge really was confining the book to 150 pages, to be honest with you, because by the time I finished researching, I went through a ton of research papers. I interviewed many personal trainers that I trained with personally, and bodybuilders, powerlifters, people like that. So by the time I was actually ready to write the book, I had literally thousands of pages of material to filter through. And you got to understand, this book, I wanted it to be really an easy-to-read book, something that you could read in maybe a Sunday afternoon or maybe a short-haul flight, something like that. So it was really important to me to filter the really relevant, salient points and not overwhelm the reader with too much science. There's obviously references at the back of the book, so anyone who wants to look further into any topics I cover, it's all in the references section. But it was really important for me to make it interesting, entertaining, relevant, simple. I have to say it's the kind of book I like my mum to read because she really hates science. So I wanted it to be that kind of book where, you get all the points across without overwhelming the reader with too much science. That was really the main take-home message to it.
I can ask you how you did it, what changes and transformations you made in your body, how you do it, and put on your psychologist hat and talk and just briefly mention, how do you get someone motivated to, I mean, everybody can get excited and start, but bingo, before you know it.
Absolutely.
All right. See if you can cover one or two of those points in the minute we have left.
Absolutely. I mean, I grew up in the late 70s, early 80s, and at the time, I remember there was a massive gym craze going on. There were new gyms popping up left, right, and center. Everybody wanted to look buff. All my friends wanted to, gain muscle. And I remember Hollywood were churning out they stopped churning out films like Buck Rogers, where the superhero looks like the guy next door. All of a sudden, you're having films like Commando and Predator, and films where the protagonist of the movie looked more like a professional bodybuilder, and that's what really got me into the gym, to be honest with you. I started to go to the gym when I was around 16, and I went to one of those really hardcore, no-nonsense gyms. It was a gym called Genesis, which wasn't actually far from my house, but it was like those blood, sweat, and tears gyms, and it reminded me of the gym that you see in Rocky, the Rocky movie, that kind of gym. Sure. Really old school. And I learned a lot from those people. And that's when I actually managed to, I trained with them, literally trained with them. I picked their brains, and I managed to lose like 10% body fat. I went from 18 stone, I think it was, to 16.5 stone in like 10 weeks. And that really spawned my interest into taking it further. So I went to university. I studied nutrition and sports nutrition at King's College London, and that gave me a lot more of a theoretical understanding.
All right. We're just about out of time. I wish we could continue. You can never talk enough about this. Dr. Jonathan S. Lee, the book is Lean Gains, published by Author House. It's been a delight having you on. Thank you. Come back.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right. We'll break, come back, and we're going to talk a lot of politics later on. This is Stu.